Palace batter Unai Emery's Aston Villa 3-0. 3-0 at Wembley to book their place in only their third. 3-0, 3 goals to book their third FA Cup final, a chance to make genuine, bona fide history by lifting the FA Cup for the first time. And they were fantastic, brilliant, majestic, amazing in every single which way and form. Just congratulations. I actually predicted Aston Villa to win, not online, not in front of anybody. I was talking to loads of mums and dads at football this morning with my boy, and I live where there's loads of Crystal Palace fans, and I said, I really would like you guys to win. I do worry about you getting Man City in the final, but I thought Aston Villa would turn up, and maybe I've been a little bit, I'm going to use the phrase I've been told to use a lot recently, gaslit by Unai Emery, by how good this Aston Villa team are. And you saw the media trying to do this. Oh, they are tired. You know, they've played 10 more games than Palace this year. Well, let's go and check what they added to their squad in January, shall we? Let's look at what they added to the wage bill, the amount of players they put into that squad. I ain't having any of it. I was wrong. Crystal Palace, they didn't just show up. They were better on the ball, better defensively. Dean Henderson, big up yourself, United Academy player, smashed it. Mateta, you legend. You Van Gogh motherfucker. You legend with your ear. I know he missed the penalty, but everything else he did was out of this world. There was a tackle late on against Ross Barkley to stop an opportunity to score a goal. If he gets it wrong, he gives away a penalty. Perfection. Sarr today, a brace. The first one was a screamer, and it came a few minutes after missing the penalty, and it was so important because Villa's fans were up. There was all this enthusiasm, and Sarr buries that ball into the bottom corner. Best goalkeeper in the world. Martinez nowhere near it, and I felt it was game over from there. Defensively, every single Palace player, you deserve a standing ovation. You blocked every shot. You won every cross. You got to all the second balls. You ensured that Henderson, when he was called upon, Henderson was amazing, but you stopped him from being needed so regularly in this game. And it was a match of inches. Inches. Just every inch went in favor of Palace. But you know why? They wanted it more. They worked harder. They covered every blade of grass with an intensity and with an attitude to win. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It really, really was. Wharton in the middle with an astounding performance. Not just winning the ball back the way he did for the second goal. It was the way in which he just overpowered that Aston Villa midfield. When he was on the ball, he was majestic, accurate, sublime, out of possession, a workhorse, a real team player. Fantastic. Eze. Eze. That goal. Listen, I'm not gonna say it. And I am gonna say it, but I mean this with a compliment. So I hope that Villa fans don't take it the wrong way. Palace fans don't take it the wrong way today. I'd love to see this young man at a more prestigious and bigger club, just to see how he gets on. I think he's special. I think he's excellent. I love how he plays. The shot was just out of this world. Was out of this world. It really, really was fantastic today. Kamada, excellent performance. I'm going to miss people as well. There's no doubt about it. But Eze and the boys were just, it was a brilliant, brilliant performance from Crystal Palace from start to finish. And as a United fan watching, the element that really annoyed me was, look at, both sides had this to be fair, but it was, look at the bloody physicality. Look at the physicality of these two teams. My side right now could never. But yes, congratulations to them. I wanted to open up with Crystal Palace because I felt they deserved it. And Rahman here says Adam Wharton was brilliant. Absolutely, he was. Absolutely. And don't look at his pass completion rate. It's probably going to be somewhere between 65 and 75%. But don't focus on that because the passes that needed to be accurate were. Passes where he's trying to break a line or open something up, it doesn't really matter. What I love about Wharton is he's not worried about having 95% pass completion. He doesn't take risks in silly areas. He takes risks at the right time. I love the IQ from him in that way. I really, really do. Mateta is the real deal. Mateta looked excellent today. His touch was brilliant. His drive, his athleticism. The penalty, yeah, the penalty's a little smudge, but outside of it, Mateta was an absolute animal. Yeah, as I say, his touch was majestic, his play was brilliant, but he likes to get down a mother 30 with the centre backs, and he ruffles their feathers. He gets in amongst it. He's such. And I mean this as a compliment. He's like an old-fashioned British centre forward. He's just great, and he's adding goals, he's adding assists, he's adding output in the last 18 months to himself. And look, again, I don't want to start selling Palace's players, but phenomenal. Really, really was phenomenal indeed. A top player. Happy for Sarr as well. Sarr, by the way, today, an assist and 2 goals in an FA Cup semi-final. And I will say this. It may not be something that makes Sarr a legend of the Premier League, but it's a legacy-defining game. And I don't mean today defines the legacy. It's a game, it's a performance, it's a moment that goes towards defining your legacy of a player. I've seen players that are better with ability, better with the PR, have greater fame, go to Wembley, play sides of Aston Villa's level, and do fuck all for 90 minutes. This man got a brace and created a goal, run his socks off, defended valiantly. There was 3 or 4 crosses at the end of the game where Sarr is clearing it. Bish, bash, bosh. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Loved it. So well done. Well done to them. They deserved it at every single level. And look, I stand by what I said before the game kicked off. I am a little concerned about them if City get through to the final with the way City hold the ball. The size of the pitch is gigantic. Can they cope with it? We saw what happened recently when Palace played Man City, because I'd like them to win it, and I don't want City winning. This is me being maybe a little anxious and a little bit overthinking, because I don't want City winning the FA Cup. I'd like them to have a trophyless season, if I'm being honest with you, and that's like my personal desire as a Man United fan. But I'm really, really happy for Oliver Glasner. Really, really happy for Crystal Palace. They were absolutely brilliant. Terry, will I be watching Barca? I'll have it on, but I'm watching Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. It's boxing tonight for me. I've been waiting for this fight for a long, long time. Thank you for encouraging everybody to smash the like button. I appreciate that. Mateta robbed of a goal. You're correct. Think about the penalty miss. Mateta's goal should have stood. It's never a foul in a month of Sundays on Conta, and that was wrongfully disallowed. This was a 4-5-0 level performance. And some will say, Terry, but Villa had chances to score. They did. But Henderson was equal to it. Henderson saved them. It wasn't like they had open goals, Villa, and they missed them, kicked it over the bar, went wide. You know when Garnacho missed all those gilt-edged chances against Spurs over the bar, wide, should have cut it back to Rasmus and he shot it straight at the keeper. That's not Spurs stopping Man United. That's Man United stopping themselves. Today, Henderson, Richards, Gahey, they stopped Aston Villa, and they were absolutely brilliant. But yes, he was definitely robbed of a goal. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Yeah, for me, just awful. Terry, Rodri, and Haaland are back for the FA Cup final if we beat Forest. Look, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. We cross that bridge as and when it happens. Terry, wasn't the score 3-0? Yes. Well, I'm saying that was a game that you look at the penalty miss, again, was a miss, not a save. And then you look at a wrongfully disallowed goal. That was a 4 or 5-0 level performance from Palace. It was that good. It wasn't a 2-0 where a third lucky goal was scored. It was a 4 or 5-0 level performance from Crystal Palace, and they deserved it on every single front. There's no doubt about it. Boxing over El Clasico. What crack are you on, Terry? But respect your part. Do you know what it is for me? It's a fight that I watched their dad's fight in the 90s. Big fan of both their fathers. Actually, a big fan of both of them individually in their own right. I don't even have a side I'm on tonight. Just for me as a boxing fan, a fight fan, a British boxing fan, I can't not watch it. I will have on my phone the El Clasico final on, but I will be watching the boxing tonight and having a night off. And, you know, it's going to be a very busy week next week. So I'm going to get a little bit of time to myself. I'm going to be doing that, no doubt about it whatsoever. But, and there is a but that we need to speak about on the Football Terrace. And it was running through my mind the whole game. And there is a but in this game. There is a but. There is a big, big but. Crystal Palace deserved to win. There's no doubt about it. Crystal Palace were the better team today. But a question popped into my mind about 80 minutes into this match. And I was thinking about this during Aston Villa's quarterfinal game against PSG. I thought about it slightly when they collapsed in the final moments against Manchester City during the week. And in fact, I thought about it in the last 10 minutes of that game when they decided to not try and win and to sit back. I thought about it when Unai Emery took Marcus Rashford off the pitch when he was flying, when he was cooking PSG. And it made me think about a particular group of Arsenal fans. A particular group that I've had a lot of dialogue with and a lot of conversations with. And it was, do the Arteta outers at Arsenal genuinely still want Unai Emery back? We've seen those arguments. We've seen those debates. Give me Unai Emery. We should take him back. If he had this squad, he would have done better than Arteta. My own club, Man United, I've seen fans scream for him. Bring me Emery. Bring me Emery. He's the guy. He's the man. I'm not sure about that. When I look at Unai Emery, this is the man who beat Barcelona 4-0 and then suffered a 6-1 defeat in the return leg. This is the man who gets Arsenal to a European Cup final and doesn't lose it. He gets thrashed, battered, destroyed. This is a man who 3 times in the last month has, first of all, made a ridiculous decision when on top against PSG, leading on the night, in the ascendancy, takes off Marcus Rashford, kills the game completely. This is a manager, Unai Emery, who against Man City, who are vulnerable, instead of trying to beat them, starts to sit back, brings on Dazarsi, knowing that Doku is going to come on and absolutely cook him on the right, stops trying to attack, settles in, takes the intensity out of his team, and loses in the dying moments. This is a manager who last year finished in the top 4 and is tracking towards finishing 7th this season. And I'm not going to allow what the BBC commentators today be said to ring true. Oh, they've played 10 more games than Palace. So what? They brought in, who they bring in? They brought in Asensio. They brought in Rashford. They brought in Malin. And I'm probably going to forget the name of somebody else. They brought in so many players in January, they couldn't even register them all for the Champions League. I couldn't do it. And for me, I looked at Unai Emery today and I think to myself, I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I'm not saying he's an awful manager. That isn't the point I'm making here. But this is someone that I think as soon as the expectations become great, he crumbles. European football with Sevilla and with Villarreal, he wins them 4 Europa Leagues he wins. 3 for Sevilla, 1 for Villarreal. But when you put him into European football with PSGs, when you put him into European football with Arsenal, done it this year with Aston Villa once the expectation rose, gets it wrong, and suffers some of the most horrendous defeats ever. When he was at PSG, yes, it's easy to win the league. I think for a good manager taking over PSG, you should be winning the league. If you're just good, you should win the league with PSG. But you look at this man's domestic cup record, barring PSG, who literally, they lead a one-horse race in France like you would not believe. It is really average. And then it's the decision-making within it. And it made me think to myself today, I've been asked this question a lot as a United fan. Would you take him at Manchester United? My answer is no. That doesn't mean I necessarily think the person in charge of United at this particular time is better or worse. I'm not saying I wouldn't swap him, by the way, for Ruben Amorim. I was asked this question when Ten Hag was being sacked. I'm not saying Ten Hag's better than him. But does Unai Emery move the needle as much as I want him to? I thought about all the Arsenal fans that around Christmas time were screaming, bring us Unai Emery back. He's better. I thought your argument for wanting Arteta out isn't hindered by this. But why the fuck Unai Emery? Shouldn't you be aiming for better than that as well? And I just watched his team today and he made mistakes. And I'm bringing it back to today. I spoke to a number of Villa fans in recent weeks about their team. Why Onana is not starting is beyond me. He gives them more control, more power, more speed in that midfield. And you're up against a very powerful Crystal Palace side. He made this mistake in the Champions League by not playing Onana as an example. The last two games are really key because he rested certain players. He took players off in the City game, removed the intensity, goes on to lose. So they're ready for today. But the first 45 minutes of the game, there's no intensity. Zero intensity. None whatsoever. In fact, he doesn't even bring Onana onto the pitch today, which makes absolutely zero sense on any level. The decision-making from Unai Emery, I feel, as of late, has been horrendous. You have got McGinn playing in kind of a left-sided attacking role. When you've got Ramsey on the bench, you've got Marlon on the bench, you've got Maatsen on the bench. Why is McGinn out there? Why are you forcing this player in? I know he's done great for you, but you're forcing him into the team. He should be on the bench. Onana should be in the team. More speed and pace out wide. And that is where, I know they kind of play similar to Man United as 10s, but the way Sarr and Eze drift out wide and then use that pace, they couldn't do it today, Villa on both sides. They could do it with Rodgers, but then they got McGinn on the other side. It wasn't working for them. And it just made me think, I am not saying he's a bad manager. So for anyone who starts trying to clip this up, clip this part up as well. He's a good manager. But I do feel he gets spoken about like he's in the elite category, and I don't think he is. And 3 games in the last month are why I believe that to be true. When the pressure really intensifies, invariably, he doesn't come out on top. His decision-making as of late has been beyond horrendous. And as a comment here says, he's much better than Amorim. That's fine. You can believe that. That doesn't upset me or hurt me. But if we sack Amorim tomorrow, if Arsenal sack Arteta tomorrow, Unai Emery shouldn't be a manager that anybody's discussing. You've only got to go through his track record and history to know there is a ceiling. For me, like Poch, he might get you playing nice football. He'll get you on good runs when nobody's expecting it. He'll get you in the top 4 or get you to a final. When he's in a final, if he's a massive underdog, he might pull off the result. But as soon as you suddenly expect, deliver. I don't think he can do it regularly enough. And that's the point I'm making here, regularly enough. Don't turn this into, but he's won trophies. I know he has. That's why I'm saying he's a good manager. He's done some phenomenal things at smaller clubs. But I just watched his decision making in the last few weeks. And as of now, my mind's made up. There is a ceiling to this man. And my question, I'll end it the way that I opened it. To all the Arteta outers that wanted him back a few months ago, do you still want him back? I'm asking a question. You give me your thoughts. You give me your opinions in the comment section below. Because for me, even today, like Palace are a good team. I'm not saying they're a rubbish team or anything like that, right? But Crystal Palace are a team that sit 12th in the Premier League. Aston Villa are Champions League quarterfinalists. They're 7th in the league, but they're 3 points away from a Champions League position. And they just got battered 3-0 that could have been 4 or 5 in a semi-final by a team that far below them over the last 2 seasons in the Premier League. By a manager who's consistently made mistakes. I'd love to get your thoughts and I'd love to get your opinions on that in the comment section below, people. Get those into us right about now. We have a super chat here actually that's come through as well that says those Arsenal fans who say if Emery had these players, stop it. No, I agree. I think if Unai Emery had a squad as good as Arsenal's and the expectations that come along with it, I think he would crumble and fall away. Now, but so does Arteta. That's fine. You can have that. Isn't the argument? The argument isn't about Arteta or Emery, or Amorim or Ten Hag. It's, do you really want Unai Emery, who has shown time and time again there's a ceiling? Do you really want Poch, who time and time again has shown there's a ceiling? And the man just gets crazy PR. The BBC, his players, they played 10 more games in Palace this year. Played 10 more games in Palace this year. Go and look what they spent in January. Emery is a Mourinho type manager. 3 years is too much. The difference between, maybe type, but Jose Mourinho in his pomp, this man would perform and deliver under pressure when it was expected. For me, when Unai Emery, when the pressure starts to mount, I think that's when he falls apart a little bit. Done very, very well. Won some European trophies. He deserves respect. He genuinely deserves respect. I'm not disrespecting. If I'm come across disrespectful, I apologize. I'm just talking about the people that go, he's the guy to get us over the line, or he's the guy to get us to the top. Man United fans do it too. I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong about him. And today is further proof of that. Husam is going to be joining me in a few moments' time to come on and have his say regarding this. He's here with me now. Husam, what semi-final? What a semi-final!
I'm listening to what you're saying, and I do think that's a little bit more of like what the Arsenal fans are saying. But today, I'm listening to Terry, and I'm trying to understand, because a lot of times in this football conversations, I feel like we just listen to respond and not listen to understand. And I low-key get where he's coming from, because I was there on Aston Villa PSG, home and away, both games, and we kind of understood why people were blaming Unai Emery for his substitutions, for whatever the hell he did. And I'm sat there now looking at like the position that Aston Villa are in. And with all due respect to everyone, whether you rate Emery or not, no one expected this scoreline right here that's at the bottom left of your screen. No one. I don't care if you're the most positive Crystal Palace fan or the most negative Aston Villa fan. Not a single human being on earth said 3-0 Crystal Palace. And I just feel like the Villa team have no balance. Just has no balance. Like, it's just the front line that they've selected to play with each other, the midfield, everything. There's a lack of balance. And the problem is the balance is on the bench, as you said, with Onana. Whether people like it or not, he gives them some form of balance. He gives them something different. I feel like the whole, the front line that he ran today, it would have worked if you had Rashford in there, but you didn't have Rashford, so you needed to adapt, and he did not adapt. The worst part about this is, at 45 minutes, 1-0 down, I thought he was going to bring on Onana directly, but he didn't. Because it was so obvious that there was such a lack of pace and power and athleticism, and there was such a lack of someone just getting the ball and driving with it. And Onana's very good at driving with the ball. Yeah. He's also like a box threat, like he makes late runs into the box, stuff like that, and they just didn't have that today. I wanted Crystal Palace to win today for a very petty reason, just because they said, you're welcome, Liverpool on Wednesday. I'm very petty. So I just backed them today. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to back you today. And overall, I would say, even when you're like, when Crystal Palace were in a low block, them counter-attacking was way more dangerous than anything Aston Villa created. Like when Mateta got past the player and then crossed it and Sar missed it. By the way, Sar could have had a hat-trick today. Like literally, no, he could have had a hat-trick. The header from 2 yards, the other chance he missed as well towards the end, and then he scored the other chance. So, fair enough. He scored twice at Wembley. That's going to be a memory for him, like,
Massive,
forever.
Yeah.
But I think Crystal Palace completely deserve to win today's game. Glasner, by the way, now this is a team that were, and we have to be honest here, people were talking about them as relegation contenders when they were going through that really like bad run of form. Like there was a point in time in this season where they're like really bad and people are like, oh, Crystal Palace must be worried. They stuck with Glasner, and Glasner has come out the other side absolutely cooking, to be honest with you. Eze's goal as well. Oh my God. We spent the entirety of last summer talking about Eze moving out of Palace, and you could just tell why he's going to be the next guy to move out of Palace. What an unreal goal. Taking that first time, you could tell why he's in the England squad. You could tell why, he's just, this is a Champions League quality player. Honestly, he just is. And, Adam Morton is another one today, performed absolutely incredibly well. And Crystal Palace deserve to win this game. And I hope Forest do as well to City what Palace did to Villa today, because I'm not trying to see City in an FA Cup final.
No, I agree. I was at two minds. I only wanted Villa to win because, and again, it actually is a massive contradiction. Actually, no, it isn't a contradiction, because I actually feel like Villa with Unai Emery would have more chance of winning the final against Big Man City than they would Forest. There's almost like that's why I wanted Villa to go through, because I've got horrible feelings City are going through to the final, and I just think Aston Villa would be more suited to beating them, in terms of the manager likes being a massive underdog. He hates being the favourite. The team are a little bit more used to these bigger games, the size of the pitch, etc. But in reality, I really do want Palace to go on to win it, because I always find there's something special about a team that's never won a trophy, winning its first ever trophy.
Yeah.
Like, what we saw in Newcastle was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, right? But this would be different, next level. A club that's never won a trophy ever doing it. So yeah, I'd love them to do it. To be fair, I really, really would. There's a comment here that says Man United are 20 points behind Aston Villa. This is the problem with your analysis. I'm not stating Aston Villa are a crap team, and I have not said Unai Emery is a crap manager. I'm simply stating, I had this debate once a few years ago with Tom Canton, who's an Arsenal fan. United weren't as bad as we are now, but this is how long I've been talking about.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's a gooner. He works for like Football London. He's got a YouTuber. Yeah, you'd have seen his content. And I've been screaming for years that United need a style of play and a philosophy post-Fergie that we stick to, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know who they were playing, but Dortmund were in the Champions League, and he kind of tweeted either at me or about Man United, saying United could do with copying a club like Dortmund. And I said, I don't want to have Dortmund's model. I don't want Dortmund's model at Man United. And to this day, I still don't think he understands where I'm coming from. And all I said is that Dortmund's model is limited, because they get great talent, they build them up, and they sell them at a profit. So I don't want that model at Man United. I want a model where we get those talent and we keep them forever. So I said, the talent ID model I want, maybe their style of play I want, but I don't want the whole thing. And he just went, yeah, but they're better than you right now. And that's how I view Unai Emery. He could probably better Man United than we are right now. He could probably take us forward, but do I think he's the man to get us over the line, like a lot of people state? Like he really is an elite of the elite manager? No. And I feel like the last 3 weeks, for me personally, the mistakes he made against PSG, what he did the other night against Man City in terms of basically throwing the game, and like you said again today, an unbalanced team. For him, and a few people in the comments were Terry, but
it was a recipe for disaster the moment it started.
It is. And
the reason I was looking at my phone is something very important. I was bringing up XG as you're speaking. The problem is their name is the XG philosophy, but their at is XG without the. So I was just looking for it, but I found it. Crystal Palace had 1.89 XG and Aston Villa had 0.92 XG. And the reason why this proves there was like a certain lack of balance. Guess how much possession Aston Villa had? 71%. Now, the Unai Emery conversation, there's something I've been very consistent with, and I do think, and I stick by this opinion because I've seen it at my effing club, man. People always dislike to do this. Like, I'll put it this way: there are certain managers that are very good at certain caliber of clubs. Unai, if I tomorrow buy 15 of any of the smaller sides in the Premier League, I'm choosing Unai Emery over Arteta. If I am the owner of Southampton, if I'm the owner of these clubs, I would. But
Tottenham.
if you're an owner of a big six club, you would not. And the reason why is when there is a certain element of pressure and there's a certain level of pressure. Someone tell me, oh, Arteta crumbled. Okay, but even Arteta's crumbling is levels below how bad Emery crumbled. People talking about bottle jobs and stuff. When Unai Emery was the manager of PSG, he's the guy that lost a 4-0 lead. That's number one. Number two, by the way, historic. Never ever happened before 4-0 and you end up losing in the second leg. And the second thing is, with Arsenal, when he was a manager at Arsenal itself, I think they needed like 1 point from 5 games to make top 4. And they lost the Europa League final as well. So that's like, it shows you that.
No, I agree.
You want to know what the prime example of this is? Brendan Rodgers. Rodgers, when he was at Leicester, was rated. When he was at Swansea, he was rated.
I completely agree with you. And this, I'm not calling Unai Emery crap. I look at it this way: if you gave Ten Hag, if you gave Arteta, if you gave Amorim, if you gave, well, we saw Poch do it. If you give these managers, no matter how good or bad you think they are, if you gave them PSG for 3 or 4 years, I bet they win 3 or 4 league titles and most of the domestic trophies. That's why I find it. I know some will say it's disrespectful, but I just believe, because I don't believe any of those managers are crap. I believe they are good managers plus, right? Does that make sense? You've only got to be good to win with PSG. They have such a monopoly of their league. It isn't a great barometer. And I do agree with you that it just seems invariably when the going gets really tough, he makes mistakes. And it isn't just, when people talk about bottling, it is just a colloquial term, but it's galaxy braining, making harebrained decisions by taking off. If we just look at the last, 3 of their last 4 matches, by the way, they battered Newcastle in that, by the way. So I'm not saying he's a crap manager, but the taking off of Rashford, taking the intensity out of the game against Manchester City. And I always think if you take the intensity out of a league game before a big cup game and you lose that cup game, I think it amplifies those mistakes further. The same as if you rest, I'm going to rest players for a cup game. We saw Chelsea fans rightfully condemn Maresca recently, where he rested players for a cup game. They go out the cup. They don't go on to win the league game at the weekend. You're going to get blasted, and you have to be, because if you're going to make those decisions and rotate, you've got to win. You have to win.
Guys, I already know what Staffy is going to talk about. Ollie Watkins. Go ahead, Staffy. I can read you like a book, bro. I can tell from his smile.
Well, yeah, I'm going to talk about Watkins, as someone should, but I was going to mention Unai Emery first. Now, I agree with what you guys said. He's not a crap manager. It's just that this notion that he was the second best manager in the league was insane to me. Because remember, last summer, people were telling us that. And I'm like, well, he can't be the second best manager in the league when there's another manager that quite literally keeps finishing second behind Pep. I'll take the manager that keeps finishing behind Pep and say that's the second best manager. And he just proved that, listen, I like Unai Emery. I think football needs managers like Unai Emery anyways. Because when you think about it, if football doesn't have the Unai Emerys of this world, you're not going to see all these Europa Leagues that are being won, these underdog stories where they win something against a better team. And I like that. I like people like Unai Emery. But at the end of the day, this guy's proven time and time again, once you start building a little bit more of a superior team, he can't really take charge of it. He can only, in my eyes at least, he can only be an inferior manager when he's the underdog, when he has a team that's less equipped than the other team, when he's not the favorite and he needs to play a little bit more cowardly and sit a little bit more back. I think he kind of thrives when the pressure's not on him. When the pressure's on him and he's in 3 competitions, the league, the Champions League, and the cup, the FA Cup, and he's getting the best signings in January. We all thought that Aston Villa had the best January transfer window in all of Europe. And he has a 3-time Champions League winner in Asensio. He has Rashford. He has Malin from Dortmund. And I'm not going to lie, he didn't really get far in any of these competitions. So it just shows me how limited he is as a manager. But yes, as Husam said earlier, I'm here to talk about Watkins because I mentioned him after the Champions League, and people are like, why do you have such a Watkins agenda? Apparently, whenever I criticize someone now, it's agenda. So there you go. You can call me Agenda Staffy from now on. I'm gonna rebrand. I'm gonna name myself Agenda Stuff because I do have now an agenda against
You
Watkins.
can't take it personal. You can have an agenda against the guy. I have an
It's
agenda.
not an
against Watkins.
agenda. I just, bro, you know what it is? I'm
Well,
just doing God's work. When someone else is not doing something, God sent me on this earth to do that job. So that's what I'm here to do. Ollie Watkins gets away with murder, so I'm gonna speak about him. This guy had Arteta outer screaming out for Arteta in January, saying get rid of him because he didn't want to get Watkins for 70 million in January. The guy finishes the Champions League campaign with 1 goal. Everyone just pretends it doesn't exist. And now he goes in a semi-final against Mateta, Eze, and Sar. And guess who leaves as the better player on the pitch today? Not him. Why? Why does he not get spoken about? For someone who's been rated for 100 million for quite over 2 seasons right now, I'm hearing people yesterday. I was talking with United fans and saying, "Would you sign Watkins?" I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe when people said that. Ollie Watkins, he's 29, by the way, 29 years old, and he doesn't get spoken about for never carrying his team in any game to do something. Why was he not there for the PSG games? No one wants to answer me. Today, you're playing Crystal Palace. How could you not have anything against Crystal Palace? I've seen Rashford have a bigger impact in the second half of the season since he joined. He starting ahead of him. I don't even know why Rashford didn't play there. Was he cup tied or something, or what happened? I thought he played today. Does anyone know?
He was injured. He picked up a little injury. He's picked up a
he got
little
injured.
injury.
Okay, because I thought he wasn't cup tied. But even Rashford over the last few games, over the last few weeks, he's been starting ahead of him. There's a reason why he's been starting ahead of him. There's a reason why he shined in the Champions League second game more than Watkins did all season for them. And it doesn't get spoken about enough. I honestly can't believe how much this guy gets away with murder. He should no longer be in conversations with a lot of... I think actually he's been surpassed by a lot of strikers this season. The fact that we have conversations about Solanke at least put his team to the semi-final and scored a crucial penalty against Frankfurt. That's something I didn't see from Watkins this season when his team needed him the most today. But yeah, congrats to Palace, man. Watkins hype. Unai Emery hype. Everyone, honestly, I don't even want to make this about Arteta, but Arteta probably deserves an apology today because he outclassed Carlo Ancelotti in 2 games, and this guy got outclassed by Glasner with Palace.
Can you? Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to take nothing away from Palace. I agree with you.
Glasner is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, he is. He really is. Has done a brilliant job there. I think it also goes to show people sometimes you can have new manager bounce and then it falls away. Because the start of this season, they looked dreadful up until like November. From November until now, they've been phenomenal. This is why I think knee-jerk... We saw it this year with Newcastle. I remember the first 3 or 4 months of the season, a lot of online, especially Newcastle fans, sack the manager. This ain't working. We're going backwards. There's peaks and troughs. You know, I do think that and this is I'm praising Pep. It's not his fault that people are silly. Because Pep just has demonstrated so much consistency in recent years, and a lot of I think the younger football fans don't remember how consistent Man United were, and those great Chelsea teams back then. I think there's this little element of like, well, if we ain't consistent like a Pep, then my manager's a fraud and I've got to sell him. You've got to sometimes stay the course. So Palace deserve it 110%. But can you imagine, as you said, and I didn't even mention that in my monologue about him, people said in the summer, second best manager in the league. This is a Villa squad that's had huge amounts of money spent on it. Stars have been brought into this team. Can you imagine if Arsenal and Arteta, Liverpool and Slot, United today, if Ange today, Ange and Spurs are below Palace, can you imagine if Spurs got battered 3-0 in this semi-final today, what people would be saying? They'd be doing their nut. So yeah, no, listen, I agree. He deserves the criticism. I was just annoyed by the punditry here in England. All they kept on saying is, yeah, I feel sorry for Villa. They've played 10 more games this season than Palace. They're really tired.
But that's what our teams do every season. Every season, that's what our teams do. 2 seasons ago, under Ten Hag, we played the most games in Europe, and no one said anything about that. And deservedly so, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, no one was saying, oh, United played the most games in Europe. If you want to put these teams, listen, you want to put them in big boy conversations, and you want to make signings like you're a big boy club and go get Asensio and Malin and Rashford in January and Disasi and spend all that money like you're a big club, then you got to handle the big boy pressure. And they didn't handle the big boy pressure. And I'm not going to lie. Listen, as much as I like Unai Emery, the more I look at this Aston Villa team and I look at their ambitions, I think his time is coming to an end very soon. Because eventually they're going to have to, with the way that they're spending and the way they want to progress as a club, they need to start playing a brand of football that they're a little bit more superior. At least, maybe you don't have to be superior against Luis Enrique and PSG, but you have to be superior in a semi-final against Palace, who I'm not trying to disrespect at all, but I think we all went into this game predicting at least Villa to win because we thought they have the better manager and we thought they have the better talent. And these players have way more experience. When people saying they played 10 more games, most of these players are used to it. Asensio's used to it. Rashford's used to it. Malin's used to it. These guys played for top European clubs and played in the Champions League, Europa League for years. This is nothing to them. This is absolutely nothing to them. So
no, it's true, and it's going to be an interesting one for Villa moving forward because they are like 92% of their wages is like turnover, like a lot of money.
Football, but they bottled it away at City as well.
Yeah, no, it's true.
A lot of bad after they beat Newcastle 4-1. I really thought they were going to kick on like that.
To keep investing, they've got to make Champions League football. And again, when we're looking and we're nitpicking here, and there'll be some amoebas online that will go, "Oh, you're saying he's rubbish."
I love when you say amoebas. It's the funniest fucking.
They are amoebas, bro. They are amoebas. They will have a go at it, but we're nitpicking between the good, the very good, and the very best here. And for me, again, listen, maybe he'll prove us all wrong, but I have a strong feeling now you might see Aston Villa fall off for the rest of this season and not make the top 4 or top 5 Champions League, and let's see what happens. But look, I want to end the show by saying a massive, massive congratulations to Crystal Palace. You thoroughly deserved it. You battered Aston Villa hugely today. Well done to your team. Well done to your manager. Enjoy it tonight for Palace fans who are sure they're going to be out in London. It's a massive fight night in London as well. So there's so much to do and celebrate.
We got a Classical in an hour, so football's not even done yet. So,
yeah, I know. A big box. And we have one of the biggest. It's a family grudge match in boxing tonight. 2 of our biggest ever boxers, their sons are fighting tonight, and they're very good as well. So it's going to be, honestly, it's going to be a great night of sport.
Great Saturday,
this is going to redirect you. This is redirecting you to MHF. It's going to MHF. So go and support Husam. Go and support Footy Judge Mo over there now, people. Go and get that done. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.